Welcome to Get to the Root, the podcast that's redefining what health benefits should be. I'm your host, Dr. Erica Armstrong, founder and CEO of Root. Here we explore the category we've created, root cause health benefits, a smarter approach that uses advanced lab screening and functional medicine to reverse chronic conditions and lower healthcare costs. Each week, we sit down with forward-thinking employers, innovative brokers, and change makers who are transforming healthcare from the inside out. If you're ready to move beyond sick care and build a healthier future, you're in the right place. Let's get to the root. Today, we have three of our Root dietitians, Amy, Lauren, and Stephanie. Our team of dietitians work with our members and contribute to content and resources found in our online Root community. Today, we're breaking down common nutrition myths, separating fact from fiction, and then explaining where they come from and give you the real science behind them. So welcome, Root dietitians.
Hello.
Thank you. Thanks for having us on.
Excited for this panel. Amy, let's start with you. There's so much information online. Why is that, and what are the pros and cons?
Yes. So it is great that there's so much information available to everyone these days on any topic out there, including nutrition. But there are pros and cons to this because there's good information that people have access to, but then there can also be bad or wrong information. And I think one of the reasons why this contributes to these kind of nutrition myths being so popular and sticking around is because, unfortunately, a lot of the times the content that gets engagement is usually not true, or at least not the whole truth. We all know that fear-mongering gets clicks, oversimplifying or overpromising things gets clicks, and then that's what feeds these algorithms that keep showing us more. So unfortunately, these things just don't go away.
Yes, the sound bites that generate clicks. Steph, why do you think quick fixes and extremes are so appealing?
Yeah, I think, first of all, none of us are immune to the intrigue of a quick fix or an extreme. And many of us have just really full, busy lives. So the sound of something simple, a quick fix, is extremely appealing. There's also this cultural shift of immediate gratification that we have probably developed over the last 20, 30 years with snail mail to email, and anything can be delivered within a pretty quick amount of time to your doorstep. And so I think the idea of having that quick fix or immediate result is really appealing. And then also sometimes extremes can just seem easier, especially if you've been struggling for a long time or maybe trying to follow a really complicated protocol. So just being told like, oh, if you just do this one thing, eat this one thing, all your problems are solved.
And Lauren, where does the role of dietitians come in with this?
Yeah. So the role of a dietitian would be to provide evidence-based, personalized advice. Because nutrition is deeply personal, we have to take into account the cultures, genetics, and emotions behind eating, but then provide evidence-based, science-backed information. And the dietitian can help decipher the science behind that because nutrition's ever evolving. We want to know the context behind the research. Who was studied? What was studied? Was it humans? Was it mice? Deciphering that can be really helpful. So a dietitian can really help translate that science into real sustainable strategies that actually work for individuals.
Let's jump right into the top nutrition myths and the truth. So first myth, all smoothies and juice are healthy.
I'll take that one. So myth, first of all, not all smoothies and juices are healthy by default. What it comes down to is really the ingredients, portion size, and then maybe what these smoothies or juices are doing to support these nutritional goals. In these all fruit smoothies or all fruit juices, we want to think about the ingredients. And if we are doing just a fruit smoothie, we're really checking just that carbohydrate box. So very little protein, no healthy fats. And then with a juice, really missing out on that fiber. So all of that resulting without any protein, fiber, healthy fats can lead to really quick blood sugar spikes, followed by crashes, especially if done on an empty stomach.
When you're talking about juice, what we would do in family medicine when a diabetic had low blood sugar, very low, the first thing we would do was juice. Even just 4 little ounces would spike that blood sugar right back up to normal. And so the blood sugar changes, as you were saying, can be very profound with just juice and no balanced fiber, protein, and fat.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the juice that you spoke to, for example, it would take about 3 medium oranges to make a cup of juice. So
Wow.
if you were to put that into real world, actually taking the time to sit down and consuming 3 oranges, well, first of all, will get a little bit monotonous. But by eating that second, maybe second and a half orange, your brain and gut would have a chance to communicate and really talk about those hunger and fullness cues versus a cup of juice that can go down real quickly.
Next one, while we're on sugar, what about sugar-free? Does that mean healthy?
Yeah, I'll jump into that one. First of all, I think it's great that we're more aware of added sugars in foods and wanting to reduce them. However, sugar-free being healthy can depend on what's being used or not used to make it sugar-free. I know, for example, I've seen items labeled sugar-free like raw almonds, which is great because, yes, almonds are naturally sugar-free, no added sugars to them, so that can be a really good choice. However, more commonly, we tend to see sugar-free labels on packaged foods like maybe protein powder, sugar-free yogurts, or even supplements like electrolytes. And these tend to have alternative or artificial sweeteners added or sugar alcohols. And these types of sweeteners can have some drawbacks that we want to be mindful of. For instance, artificial sweeteners like aspartame or sucralose, they're usually more chemically derived, and they can be anywhere from like 200 to 700 times sweeter than actual sugar. So that alone can really start to change our palate and increase sugar cravings. So we're just wanting more and more sweetness to our food. And sometimes studies have shown that these can actually still elicit that insulin response. So if you're really working at trying to reduce insulin levels, it can be good to be mindful of those things. When it comes to sugar alcohols like erythritol or sorbitol, those can cause digestive upset for some people, like gas, bloating, diarrhea, or looser stools. And then the other one, alternative sweeteners, these are like stevia and monk fruit. They're usually going to be a better choice because they're more naturally derived. However, still be aware of certain things like stevia, it's in the ragweed family. And so if you have a ragweed allergy, just being mindful of that as well. So I think with navigating all of that and really wanting to support reducing sugar and added sugars, just even starting with assessing how many food items you eat that have artificial sweeteners or sugar alcohols or those alternative sweeteners, and then looking at ways to replace them with naturally sweet foods like fruit that also have other health benefits like fiber, vitamins, minerals. It's all comes in its own perfect package. So an example of that would be if you're trying to get away from maybe sweetened protein powder, then getting like a plain protein powder and adding fruit to whatever yogurt or oatmeal or chia seed or smoothie, and then sweetening it that way. Or even just using small amounts of natural sweeteners like half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of maple syrup or honey can be really great alternatives.
Thanks for adding those practical tips. And yeah, just a tiny amount of that honey can be helpful in transitioning your palate to being able to have more naturally sweet. And I'm so glad you made that point about insulin and the sugar substitutes. And I think a lot of times people think they're trying to help their blood sugar by having something sugar-free, but in reality, a lot of those sugar subs are actually influencing their blood sugars. Next topic, let's go on to juice cleanses. You need to do a juice cleanse to detox.
Okay, I want to add one more thing about the sugar-free one. I'm really glad we talked about that because I feel like most of us, before you learn about this, you see sugar-free on a label and you automatically think it's a good thing. And now that I understand like the science behind all of that, I see sugar-free on a label and I automatically think it's a bad thing. I want to know like what is making you put sugar-free on the front of this package? What did you put in here so that you could put sugar-free on the front? So yeah, between blood sugar response and GI upset and all of those things, I always just think like it says sugar-free on the front. You need to do a juice cleanse to detox. I feel like this is something that we hear often. And I feel like I always see two extremes here. So like on one end is you need to only drink green juice for however many weeks to be able to detox your body. And then on the other extreme end is people saying, this is why you have a liver and kidneys and you don't need to do anything to detox. And I think that Root's take on this is something right in the middle of those two things. Like, yes, our liver and our kidneys are our body's primary detoxification organs, but we absolutely need to be supporting them. We are overloading our bodies with increased exposure to everything: pollutants, medications, processed foods, things in the environment, plastics, just so many things. So we absolutely need to be thinking about how we can support this process and support these organs. But doing a juice cleanse might not be the best way to support those organs. One thing that many people might not know is that you actually need amino acids, which are from protein, for detox pathways, specifically phase 2 detoxification. So it's not that there aren't nutrients in that green juice, but you're not getting everything that you need for these different detox phases. You really are better off eating all of those greens that would be in the juice or the plants that would be in the juice in their whole form, so that you're getting the fiber, what Lauren was talking about with the smoothies and the juice earlier too, and then having those in a balanced meal with protein too, so that you're getting everything that you need for the different detox pathways.
So well explained. Thanks, Amy. Next one's a big one. Calories in, calories out is all that matters when it comes to weight loss.
I would love to take this one. This is actually one of my favorites. A big misconception that we hear frequently is the idea of just calories in, calories out will equal weight loss. While energy balance does play a role, our bodies really aren't just simple machines. They're not just calculators. You can punch something in and expect the same number every time. They are very smart machines. They're dynamic and adaptive. But when you're constantly under eating or skipping meals, your metabolism can really slow down. Stress hormones can rise. Muscle mass can decline. And over time, this is just really going to lead to fatigue, brain fog, or even rebound overeating. So while not all calories are created equal either, simple sugar won't have the same impact on your body the same way a meal, the same amount of calories of that sugar, would have protein, fiber, and healthy fats. So that's why, as dietitians, we are often talking about the quality, not quantity, and the consistency and the nourishment that really matters more than just simply cutting calories. Because sometimes eating enough of the right foods at the right times will actually help your body feel safe. And that safetiness there, that's what can help release those excess weight that we're looking to lose.
Absolutely. You touched on it, but your hormones like cortisol, insulin, and then the microbiome, all of those things are the factors that you were alluding to, and body feeling safe, and then cortisol coming down and being able to self-regulate. Next big one, seed oils are inflammatory.
Ooh, I'll take this one. This has been a very hot topic lately. Research is actually mixed on this. There are studies that show the opposite. There are studies that show that seed oils are anti-inflammatory. So I think that's where a lot of people just get very confused. And I think that this is like the general public as well as even nutrition professionals, because there are studies that show both of these things. But I think one thing that's important to look at is who is funding those studies. From what I have seen, and I have dietitians on our team shaking their head yes, from what I have seen, a lot of the studies that are showing seed oils being anti-inflammatory were done by companies that are directly related to the seed oil industry or products. So I think Root's general take on this is that there's no one thing that is causing all of our health problems. And it's better to have an addition mindset than like putting all of this energy into completely avoiding seed oils. We want to be focusing on good things to add in. So we want to be making sure that people are getting enough vegetables, getting enough fruit, getting enough protein, getting enough fiber. Eating whole foods really is the ultimate goal. And if you're able to focus on adding in more of these whole foods, then you're naturally reducing more of like the packaged processed foods that are likely to have more seed oils. So we don't think that you necessarily need to, again, focus all of your time and energy on avoiding seed oils, but we're also not going to recommend going above and beyond to try to use more of them. Like, we're not recommending buying a huge thing of canola oil and using that at home for cooking. We recommend using olive oil or avocado oil or coconut oil and cooking at home with those whole foods. And then being mindful of the seed oils, but knowing that one thing isn't causing all of our health problems alone.
Your description of this reminds me of meeting people where they're at and sustainable nutrition and doing the best you can with the evidence that we have. So, yeah, thank you.
Yes. And I think this partly goes back to the one that I talked about before, or what I talked about at the beginning of the podcast with fear mongering, getting clicks, right?
Mm-hmm.
So saying that seed oils are inflammatory and causing all of the health problems in our country, people want that to be like one answer and one thing to be thinking about, when in reality, we need to be thinking about a lot of different things.
Yep. Along that line, how about gluten-free? Is that always healthier?
Yeah, I'll take this one since I am also a fellow gluten-free person myself. And for some people, we do need gluten-free, especially if you have celiac disease, which is where if you consume gluten, the body's going to have an autoimmune response to it, or even people with wheat allergies. A lot of times they will just go completely gluten-free because gluten is in wheat, rye, and barley. And so sometimes that's just easier. And we have seen people feel better eating gluten-free, especially if they have more of what's called a non-celiac gluten sensitivity, or even for various autoimmune conditions like Hashimoto's. However, gluten-free in and of itself doesn't mean it's healthy. A gluten-free Pop-Tart is still a Pop-Tart, and often gluten-free products have a lower fiber content, so they can have a higher impact on blood sugar levels. And because gluten acts really well as a binder, a lot of these gluten-free products have added gums and binders, which for some people can cause digestive issues as well. So if you're wondering if gluten-free is right for you, ideally it's best to work with a dietitian and have that personalized nutrition to see if it's worth trialing, or even if you should test to see, like if you have celiac disease first. That can be really important too before eliminating it. And if gluten-free trial sounds like a good option for you, then just opting for foods that are naturally gluten-free, like any of those proteins like meat, poultry, fish, eggs, vegetables, fruit, nuts, seeds, beans, potatoes, rice, all of that is just naturally gluten-free, and they're whole food options. So again, going back to what Amy said, just really getting those nutrient-dense whole foods. And bonus, it's way less expensive than buying a specialty item that's labeled gluten-free.
Yes. The next one, I actually love that protein is getting more attention these days, because I feel like in the recent past, there was less of an emphasis on it, and it's so important for blood sugar balance. But Amy, is more protein always better?
Yes, so I completely agree with what you just said. And I am glad that people are prioritizing it, because we do need to make sure that we are eating enough protein. But it's not the only thing that matters. And I think that if we focus too much on protein, then we're that much more likely to not be getting enough of the other nutrients that we need, like fiber and plant foods and phytonutrients. So Root's take on this is middle ground too. If you've heard before, like the 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight being a protein goal, this is probably not quite enough. But then you might have also seen, again, the other extreme where people are trying to eat 1 gram per pound instead of kilogram of body weight, or even more. And that might be more than you need. So we recommend somewhere in the middle of those two. It's individualized, but maybe like the 30-ish grams per meal is a good place to start if you're trying to figure out what to do with protein, and then pairing that with healthy fat and fiber. And another way to think about this is making sure that you are eating enough to keep you full for maybe like the 3 to 4 hour time frame. And if you're feeling hungry before that, then increasing protein might be something that you want to do to see if that helps to keep you full longer. But more protein is not always better. It's a Goldilocks amount, just like with fat and with carbohydrates and all of the macronutrients. There's a sweet spot, and you have to put them all together.
Which is where our wonderful dietitians come in, helping guide people through this. And wow, I'm just chuckling a little bit at 1 gram per 1 pound. I wonder if someone just mixed up kilograms and pounds one day on social media.
Maybe they did, and the internet grabbed it, and it got so much engagement that here we are. Because one gram of protein per pound of body weight for some people would be probably way too much.
Yeah. Let's move into a rapid fire myth round. Quick yeses and nos on the following. You want to just go around in a circle here. Steph, let's start with you. Frozen veggies aren't as healthy as fresh.
No, frozen is great.
Coffee dehydrates you, Lauren.
No, but definitely need to drink water throughout the day too.
Amy, you should drink 8 glasses of water a day.
I would say yes, and maybe add some electrolytes if needed.
High-fat foods are unhealthy.
No, we need healthy fat. Plus, it's delicious too. Adds good flavor. It keeps you full longer, helps stabilize blood sugar. Great for absorbing fat-soluble vitamins.
Creatine is only good for muscles.
No, creatine is also great for energy, cognition, brain health. One of my favorite ads this year, actually.
High cholesterol foods are unhealthy.
No. Dietary cholesterol does not directly translate to blood cholesterol. Refined carbs is actually the thing that impacts that number the most.
I would love to just go deeper into that, but we'll save that for another episode. We'll keep going. Egg whites are better for you than whole eggs.
No, eat the whole egg. I feel like that's a good carryover from the cholesterol discussion here. The whole egg has a lot of essential nutrients like vitamin D and choline that we need.
All supplements are a waste of money and expensive urine.
No, actually, we've seen these be really helpful in our clinical practice, but being individualized and based on these lab results. We've seen labs improve and symptoms improvements too with supplement use.
Everyone should take probiotics.
Not necessarily. Maybe yes, but it depends at what point, because there might be some things that you want to work on with gut health, knocking down some bad stuff before you're throwing a bunch more good bacteria in there.
Potatoes are unhealthy.
No, they're a great source of potassium, fiber, resistant starch. It's a really good option for the starch part of your plate, and make sure you include the skin.
You should only buy organic.
No, I mean, great if your budget allows it and you can, but if it's not available, we'd rather have you include these fruits and vegetables than not have them.
Last one. Carbs make you gain weight.
No. We need carbs for energy, but we do want to choose nutrient-dense whole food carbohydrates, thinking more like colorful plant foods than only white refined carbs.
Awesome. Well, this has been a very informative episode. Thank you all for being here. For our audience, if nutrition noise is overwhelming to you, you can sign up directly for a visit with a Root dietitian. Just head to our website and go to virtual visits, or you can ask your employer to make Root your new favorite benefit. Thanks for listening. Till next time. Thanks for listening to Get to the Root. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe and share it with someone who's ready to rethink healthcare. You can learn more about Root Functional Medicine and our work with employers at rootfunctionalmedicine.com. We'll see you next time, where we'll keep challenging the status quo and getting to the root of what really drives better health.